man said to kill the bear barehanded so the people won't forget it. Getting money for I was legal to drink. I care what a broke nigga think.
Just like the Pack and Lewis.
Look, everything I do so cold. I can do this, both eyes closed. Too sharp, I stay on my toes. About that guap boy, anything goes. Help the bear if we outside. Help the bear if we outside. Still tipping, baby, nothing changed. We still grinding over here, yeah. Still sliding through my own lane. Shorty, nothing funny over here. Dallas rain everywhere around me. Dream to get money. Made it through the storm, living sunny. Dreams came true, now we eating. I got more dreams to chase, gotta reach them. Trying to put a team together like the Hunger Games. Everybody grind together, we all came from hunger pain.
Alright, what is up, y'all? Late Ill Kid at OneYoungsta holding it down, bringing that StreetGeek and NERDSoul. What is up, my people? Today, coming with another wonderful episode of That's Right. I ain't gonna tell you no lies. We're here to talk about Star Wars, the book of Boba Fett. Yeah. So, I'm not by myself. I'm joined by three amazing gentlemen in the bottom square. Solar Gray, what's up?
You guys doing out there? This is Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer, coming at you from the Wizard. I'm a little off center today because I've been having my cookout playlist going, so a lot of Funkadelic and Earth, Wind, and Fire. But yeah, and I'm happy to be here. You guys can find me over at twitch.tv/BID_P. And let's talk about this because my wizard eye tells me that this is going to be heated today.
This is going to be a good one. So, diagonal square, we have Hannibal Taboo. What's up?
What's good? Hannibal Taboo. Sunday nights at 11 p.m. on 101.5 FM in Los Angeles or lpfm.la in your browser. Also, weekly reviews on bleedingcool.com and the iHeartRadio podcast Nerdorama with more Tuala. Thank you, as always, for having me.
All right, and last but not least, right over here, getting this drink on, RJ Nerdy Brew. What's up?
What's going on? Happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm RJ of the Nerdy Brew, and I drink coffee and talk about TV, movies, and other stuff when the time is right. And also, I usually say Star Wars is life, but we will have an intervention. This time around, first it was the sequels, but now there was a relapse. We have some things to discuss.
Okay.
Wars is just Star Wars?
All right, so I guess I'll start it off with this. I will ask you. I'll pose this to RJ first, because RJ, matter of fact, it's been a couple weeks. So RJ, when you saw the hammer come down, how did you feel? When the hammer came down amongst the gut and the table, splitting the man into, how excited were you to be like, you know what, we are back into some gangsters?
Yeah, all right. So I'm gonna say two sides of the same coin about this episode. So Mando came in, we see his silhouette. It was amazing, right? We heard his music from the last episode, and he walks through the butcher shop, and he comes to do what Mando does, and he wrecks shop. And I'm like, yes, this is picking up pace for the show. But my second mind came through and was like, wait, this is Mando. Mando has his own show. What are we doing here? And then I'm thinking, I'm like, this is great, but it keeps going, and it's very little to none of Boba Fett. So that took me back. Did I love the violence? Actually, I'm gonna say this technically, like watching all the visuals of this episode, listening to the sound production, the performances, everything was top notch. Like Bryce Dallas Howard directing this episode, she just brought her A game to making a fire episode. But when it comes to the book of Boba Fett, of what I'm trying to watch, that derailed my excitement for the show, but amped it up for Mando. So that's where I'm at with it currently.
Okay, now I want to go to Hannibal real quick. I want to pose this to you because Hannibal Taboo has written for many things. All right, he has written even in the hip hop genre. I look at this episode like the shows are almost the Wu-Tang Clan. If you look at either Raekwon or Ghostface albums, on Ghostface album, first voice you hear rapping is Raekwon, but it's still a Ghostface album. You know what I'm saying? And I think in Raekwon's album, there's a whole song that's just Ghostface. So it's, you know, they still the same crew, get a little piece, but you know, it's still Boba Fett's story. Would you say that is an apt depiction, my brother?
I think that's a fantastic metaphor that you're bringing forth. That what I also remember is that in The Mandalorian, we spent a lot of time watching Boba Fett roll through smoke clouds and get pretty heated as well. So it's not like he didn't show up in Mando's show with a fire verse, a fire feature that, you know, had people like, oh, and Mando playing in the background, like, you know, when he accidentally, you remember that song when Drake had Eminem on it? It was like, dude, what did you do that for? Eminem? What were you thinking, man? So in a similar way, Mando came through with the fire feature. They gave us a lot of heat. Ask some questions though, because you're bringing in people cold in smaller packages these days because you can't pack a whole person no more. But I really enjoyed this episode. I believe we're, as you note, creating a mosaic, creating an ensemble piece. Like the West Wing wasn't necessarily all Jed Bartlett. You know, you got to see, oh, we're doing a Charlie episode. We're doing Sam Seaborn this week. Okay, cool. You know, it's turning into the Book of Boba Fett has many players, many characters, many chapters that can explore many directions. I love it.
And Ghost MKC says, gimme Grogu, this is the way. Now, on to the cinematic sorcerer, because one character made me think of you. When we're looking at the young man of Mandalorian trying to get his bearings on how to use the sword, the gems that were dropped towards him, it made me think about you. How are you feeling about that scene?
Hang on. I need some clarification because there was a thing. It made me think about you. Help me out with the thing.
So when he's training with the sword on the little on the dangerous railless, that's what made me think about you when
Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
The dangerous
I keep
railless.
You know me outside of online, so you know the other jobs I have. All right.
So I was like, he was learning the sword fight, and she was like, "Yo, look, hey, you're fighting the sword. You got to be one with this bad boy." You know, what were you thinking while watching that?
Okay, so, and I like how you skipped what my overall opinion of the show was, but we'll get to that.
No, we got tons of time for that. We got tons of time.
So, yeah, with that particular scene, number one, when I saw her sitting on her knees in contemplation of the set that was ripped from Halo, I was like, good, she lived. I'm very happy that she lived because we didn't see. We saw she was being invaded. Yep. She picked up the hammer and them pliers, and that was it. that was all we saw. Did she live? Did she die? Whatever. I don't know. And oh wait, they're doing somebody else's show, so I'm not gonna find out for a whole another couple of seasons. All right, cool. So it was great to see her again. It was great. And that particular scene, I had to give a slow clap, given how many people I've taught to use swords. Everything they said was spot on for a regular weapon, let alone an enchanted weapon. Okay, the fight choreography on that particular scene, as all of her moves were efficient and to the point, like trying to fight a 45-year-old man when you're 17. And
Yeah.
his choreography, he was getting slower and slower as he was talking about this thing is getting heavier. So it was kind of like, yeah, you haven't bonded with this thing yet. You ain't listening. So I thought that was very well done, very well written, very well directed. Bryce is very much her father's daughter. I will have to say on that, because really, when I saw who this was directed by, I'm like, oh, no wonder this is good, because if that name's on it, it better not be bad. It better not be bad. That's like Gordon Ramsay's kids not knowing how to cook. You know what I mean? That's like growing up with your grandmama and not knowing how to clean the house like that. Yeah, she is very much her father's daughter. That to answer your question, yes, very much. That was a very well done scene.
All right, so before we open it all up, Eon001 says, I'm disappointed that Mando is still collecting bounties and pining for Grogu. The character needs to evolve. I expected him to be with Bo-Katan looking to rebuild Mandalore or something like that. Well, I mean, he does have a whole third season. You never know. And Grogu is they were side by side, man. He had to care for the kid.
Said as passionately as someone who is not a parent.
He had to care for the kid, man. The kid was in danger. He was just a little baby. He had to hold him on his own and stuff. He had 50. To protect him.
He had Social Security pay.
And I kind of strongly disagree.
Did he get the child tax credit this year? Did he get that?
You've been filing.
I think Luke about to claim it.
Yeah, why didn't Luke pick him up in May? I gotta fill out this paperwork.
I think Luke was gonna get those Republic credits, but I really kind of disagree with that statement, because instead of seeing an evolution for him, I think it was a de-evolution of how vicious he was without Grogu. He was going back to not having restraint. When we see that opening scene, and especially how he is bringing in bounties a lot smaller than what they were. It wasn't carbonite. It was a whole, discombobulated head. So
he said, look, you can be warm or you can be cold.
Oh, yeah.
Choice is yours. I'm a warrior.
That was his opening statement when the show first started. Mm-hmm. So he's reverting back. So it shows where he is without Grogu, where he had the growth when he was with Grogu. So I appreciate that when we see him now.
Very much so. And the fact that Bo-Katan is not around, the fact that she's not there, and he's still walking around with the Darksaber, gives very, very interesting story implications that lead to his own series that I'm very fascinated to see. Yeah. Bo-Katan, if she's had to walk away from the Darksaber before, she wasn't happy about it last time. I'm going to guess she wasn't happy this time. And there's a lot of things to answer, because the schism between the Death Watch and the standard Mandalorian culture has not gone anywhere and has not gotten any better since the Purge. So I'm very interested in seeing what's going to happen there.
And the thing is, if Bo-Katan, because the way that we ended off with Mando, he was like, here, take it. Like, but of course, when you have lore, and even what you would call it? I can't think. Big Brother Almighty. He even was like, look, it's all about the story. The story matters. Like, it's the story. Nobody, you have to have won it in combat. If you don't win it in combat, then people go. But he's like, yo, I ain't going to tell nobody. I don't care. Like, here,
I have to make a note here that Bo-Katan received it out of combat before and lost it. Bo-Katan has had, so she knows if she's ever to really claim her sister's place at the head of Mandalorian culture, she absolutely has to do it the right way. But she's also honor bound. She's like, I can't murk this clown because I've been helping this clown. We actually been in the struggle in the trenches together. So I can't just up blast him for nothing. So I'm kind of stuck. What am I going to do? And I sense she has not answered that question yet.
Can I say that, who is it? Blig Pain 27. I got you, man. I got you. Sitting up, he's in the chat saying, they told Mando to bathe in the waters of Lake Minnetonka.
I'm real mad that I didn't get that joke first. I'm real mad.
Well, I mean, I mean,
when he
Solar
gets
brought
there,
up-
I'm gonna be playing When Doves Cry. That's all I'm gonna say.
Solar brought up Halo first. You know what I'm saying? Because the second I watched that, I was like, yeah, Paramount, they got you. They got you. they got you. They got you on this one. But it's all good. It's all good. You
Now,
got other
when I saw the space station, I personally immediately, because I haven't thought about Halo in years, but when I saw it, I thought of the Citadel from Mass Effect, like brought to life. Currently, I was like, whoa, they did that.
And the first thing I thought was Ringworld. I was like, oh, we going old school sci-fi with this. I respect that. Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and open it up. I'm gonna throw it to Solar first. You know, now we can just talk about the episode, whatever you want to do. It's how did you feel watching this? Were you engaged,
Man,
or were you ready for the next episode?
This one messed me up. Like, was I engaged? Not yeah, but hell yeah. Am I ready for the next episode? I am ready for the next. I am fiending for the next episode of The Mandalorian.
They need to bring that joint like tonight.
Yeah. This show, like y'all know, I've been enjoying Boba Fett as the crime drama. I'm not attached to the lore. I'm not attached to all the PhD masterclass stuff that you have to do to be as engaged with Boba Fett as the rest of this panel. All right, but I'm looking at Boba Fett and I'm going, all right, cool. I'm not just talking about you, Mr. Taboo. I'm talking. I didn't read the novels. I didn't read the comics. You know, I saw the movies. I saw the Star Wars special. I read the first 3 Zahn books, and then I started watching the shows. All right, so you know, I am the market. I am them guys, and I'm like, all right, cool. I got a very Godfather sense about this. We got the elder. You know, the elder soldier who's now becoming a statesman. I kind of dig that whole thing. But then they did this. They gave an episode of this show that is everything fans of Boba Fett all over line have been saying it's exactly what they want, but they did it with the titular character of their other property. And it's like, do I want to watch the next episode of Boba Fett? Not as much as I want to see the season premiere of The Mandalorian. You know, I mean, I'm saying the next 2 episodes had better follow prestige television format. And the penultimate season finale, it shouldn't just be fire. This had better be plasma, because it reminded me of something I enjoyed more. And it's like, do I want to keep spending my time in the hopes that I'm going to enjoy Boba Fett on the same level as I enjoy Mandalorian? Or, and I'm not talking about like, I don't want Boba Fett to be the Mandalorian. A lot of other people do, but I want Boba Fett to be as good at what it is as the Mandalorian has been at what it is. And so far, I was down. Like, Boba Fett has had a solid B+, but then they bring in that double S person. And I'm just like, ooh, no, don't do this. This is like cutting. It very much reminds me of the last 2 movies in the Hellraiser series, where they're not Hellraiser movies. They were movies that they put Cenobites in to be published. And I don't want to feel that way about a show that I've already spent 5 weeks committed to. You get that?
I got you. Because it does. It kind of goes on to Eon 001 saying Boba needs his big moment. But the only thing, I guess what they're doing is kind of waiting until maybe the finale or whatever. But yeah, like, you know, Mando's had so many big moments. And we're like, hey, man, like we want, and I know they're 2 different men. And this episode kind of shows 2 different Mandalorians that have essentially like the same skills, but at 2 very different times of their lives.
Yeah, and very much so.
But we still want Boba to have that moment where we're like, yo, like that moment when he cut down the middle. We were all like, yeah, this is what we came here for.
I wasn't.
This is what we paid for.
Yeah, no, I wasn't feeling that. My moment came when he hurt himself with the dark saber. All right.
See, when that happened, I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing. because
I thought those pants were made out of more than just like galactic cotton. Like I was
nope.
like,
Nah.
I thought we had like a Kevlar tri-weave or something.
Bro,
Like
Beskar costs enough. All right. This is the dude that works from job to job to job. So he got a great looking car, but the interior probably needs a little detail work. That's what I'm saying. You know, and it's, you know, I can put in the nitrous or I can detail the back seat, you know, that and that's very much what Mando has been built up to be, you know. But I am not a big fan of flawless characters flawlessly going into places and doing flawless things, as you know, being in my game. So one of the big things that The Mandalorian as a whole, as a show, shows that he's got to work. You know, I mean, he got served by Jawas. So the fact that he comes in there, the fact that he came in there with a brilliantly placed shot with the Beskar spear in just the right position on the shadow, making it look like Boba Fett's targeting thing. Thinking, all right, is this Boba Fett? Why is that Mando's me? Oh, it's okay. All right, let's see what this is doing. And we get all that. Yeah, Mando's here. Oh man, Din Djarin. Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. yeah, he wins, you know, but he's the bounty hunter that wins with them hard-earned B pluses, you know.
Yeah, and so I was Allen even said burning himself made real life sense for wielding a laser sword untrained.
That's exactly it. Like he knows them projectiles, you know. I mean, I remember when he got his jetpack and we saw his learning curve. You know, and that's the thing with Mando. We see his learning curve with everything. He's not just I get a new thing and I'm an expert with it by the end of the next episode. You know, we see him crashing into stuff. We see him not knowing that, you know, we see him fighting the sword and it getting too heavy. We see him burning his leg in the middle of the fight. So I that was my moment. That was my big moment. You know.
All right, cool. Hannibal. How you feeling? Because this has a whole lot. We got like essentially like 2 parts to this episode to get into. So we
got a lot of material to cover. Okay, first of all, I grew up watching the Roger Moore James Bond, right? And I loved it, but I grew to appreciate as I got older the Sean Connery James Bond. The difference between them was Roger Moore didn't let people punch him in the face very often. He was like, no, I'm pretty. You're not going to mess with me. Whereas Sean Connery got beaten up, captured, punched in the face, treated like a dog, had people talk about him like he didn't know what he was doing through most of his movies.
Yep.
Still managed to find a way to win. Those are those hard-won B+ wins that Solar is talking about. And I came to respect that as a kind of a true grit, kind of low. I'm a determination my way through this. So there's that side of Din Djarin that I appreciate, and we definitely got back here in a sort of retrograde fashion, as RJ was noting. But what I appreciate more was, well, there's a lot of things I appreciate. First, I got to stop and shout out. In the opening scene when Mando brings the bounty in, the blue-headed actor there is my friend, Sophia Fredericks, who is
nice.
For months and months was like, I can't tell Hannibal today. I can't tell Hannibal today. I can't tell Hannibal today. And I was like, girl, you made the right call because they would have disappeared you. They would have put you in the same poll they put Edward Norton in. You don't want that. So I don't know if that's too soon. Anyway, so
they hosted off after Brendan Fraser put Ed in, so they want to keep it there for a little while. So
Brendan Fraser, that one hurts. Ooh, that one really hurts. Anyway.
He was gone for a while.
Yeah.
So we got to see a taste of what's going on in the galaxy, and I appreciated that. The scope of this gigantic, almost Dyson sphere-minded space station circling the sun, the great visuals there, the amazing talent of Bryce Dallas Howard as a director and a visual storyteller. There's a lot for me to appreciate there. People's beef that there was no Boba Fett in this, again, I mitigate by the fact that Boba Fett rolled up in Mando's show and was like, oh, you don't even have a car. You need a ride. You in the back seat, son.
They blew your car to smithereens.
So And also remembering, for me, the big moment that when he was dang near butt naked and unarmed, he killed that giant Ray Harryhausen thing that busted out of the sands of Tatooine that I've never seen before. So it's not like Boba is not still here to murk you and your mom and your family if he feel like it. So I didn't regret that. I also wondered that was hype from Rebellion. From Resistance, who was the Rodian kid who waved at him. But I was like, oh my God, and he sees the fast vehicle. Is that the future Rodian racer that we see on Resistance? Because I'm a continuity dude, and that's the sort of stuff I look for. But there were a lot of fun things. The only concern that I had with the show, because I loved almost everything that happened here. The only concern is that Mando, if he's going to keep bounty hunting, has to change his business model. Because he used to have a ship where he could pack 3 or 4 frozen dudes in it, and roll around with them and be fine and make some more money. Now, I remember like in '94, I got a Mazda RX-7, and it was really fast, but it was really small. Mm-hmm. and this reminds me of that. Like, okay, he got a car seat for Grogu, and that's cute. No, I like that.
Not a car seat for Grogu,
you're not gonna strap no carbon frozen dude to the bottom of M1. It's not gonna fit. It's not gonna work.
I am glad that you brought that up. I am very glad you brought that up.
I'm just saying his business model got to change, which is not necessarily a bad thing if the new business model is being muscle for Boba Fett.
Well, that's the new business model, remember, a whole R2 unit or R unit can sit in that back piece, all right? New model is...
That's a lot of heads.
Thank you. The new model is I bring them in cold. That's what I do. I bring them in cold. All right, put an ice pack in the back. That's what I do. I bring them in cold.
It all depends. He could do with the new jobs what he did with the last job, which was I take the job on the planet where the perp is. Because I was noticing, like, I was with him that whole time. He's like, look, I just want my new cargo van. Can I get a cargo van? Bro, this is a Buell. You don't get it, man. This is a Buell I don't need a racing motorcycle. I need a cargo van. I'm an ice cream truck driver. Why are you putting me in a Porsche?
And he was thinking ahead, because the Razor Crest, if Grogu's little friends need to come over to the house, if he need to take them to soccer practice, he could do all those things in a Razor Crest. You can't do that in N1.
He's like, man, I want my Aerostar. Can I have my Aerostar?
It'll be fine. You know what I'm saying? Just buy a hover trailer. It's got some tow capacity.
You can't strap. No, a N1 has not even got an attachment for a hover trailer. That little funny thing, you're not putting nothing on there.
Yeah. Now, speaking of, man, I gave you a souped up Porsche. I can't carry groceries in this.
Just put it in the front.
There's no trunk. There's no trunk in this thing.
Put it in the front. You know what I'm saying? Right up in the front.
Although there was that moment that I believe every single black man under 60 had. Like, that was our wish fulfillment in this episode. And that was, hey, your voice sound familiar. Can we ask you a couple of questions? Yeah, sure.
Yo. Okay, I'll say this. I'm gonna throw. I got a question for RJ, because I think we've talked about the prequels before. But as someone who may or may not have outrun Chesterfield County Police before, allegedly, that moment kind of hit different. Yo, you see them lights and you like, look, I'm already doing 75. Look, let's go. But anyway, with that said, RJ, I think you and I were talking about the prequels before with Favreau, and the way this direction of these shows are going. It seems like they're picking like some of the coolest parts of like the prequels. Because like I've said it tons of times, Hannibal knows, like I think the prequels are awesome moments wrapped in bad movies. Like there's a whole bunch of cool stuff in the prequels, but until the Clone Wars animated series came, it was kind of like, didn't really do it all. But like this the ship, the kind of like the conversation about the ship, being off of, the Empire scanners and all of that just helped like fill out the world. Like, yeah, the prequels are cool, sorta. There's stuff in there.
See, that sounds like reaching to me. I know I'm sitting up going, yeah, that was good. Wow, the prequels could have been so much. You had all this good stuff, and this is what you did with it.
Please allow me to step in, because anytime anybody says they got a problem with the sequels, I'm like, oh, I need you to go to StarWarsRingTheory.com and read through first of all, because everything in the prequels, everything was done with such precision and determination to accomplish a very specific filmmaking goal called ring theory. This is something that George Lucas studied at USC. This is something that he incorporated. He had enormous ambitions to weave it into 6 movies. And Star Wars Ring Theory shows you at every point where he specifically did it at every movie. And when you look at it as the whole, like, it's kind of like one of the first times when I was really listening to classical music, right? I didn't really have an appreciation for the way the strings and the interplay, whatever. But then when I sat down, somebody was like, yo, player, you need to check this out. This is what classical music is about. And I read it and I went back and listened. I was like, dang, I didn't even know. Classical music slaps. And I really was able to get a greater sense of what was going on there, because it was happening at such a high artistic level that my little, Roger Ebert kind of commoner way of looking at things didn't even see the game. Did not even see the game that way.
That was mean. But you know what? I've studied ring theory. I get that it was put together greatly as an artistic thing in effort. And it is possible to work as hard as you can in the incorrect direction. Okay, you can put together a fantastic. I mean, it's
for me. First of all, for myself, before we got the prequels, we had the original, right? Mm-hmm. And I was young enough to not experience those in theaters until the special editions came out. Then after the special editions, oh wait, the world is expanding. We have episode 1 that's coming out. That was my era of age. And seeing that the growth, even though we're moving forward, starting with episode 1 to how we get to the Empire, those small like Easter eggs and nuances of progression of evolution inside the world from each episode, from episode 1 to 3, I needed it. I personally needed it from the prequels, and at the time, I didn't have a critical eye to critique the acting or to critique, the visual effects. I just loved the story that it was growing, that was missing at the time, because we had the expanded universe within the books and the audio books, and then we had the movies that were coming out. I'm so thankful that I was in the time to watch the Clone Wars, both series, the 2D and the 3D animated one. And when we come to this particular episode of Boba Fett, to see the N1, it just goes full circle. Paying attention to George Lucas' thought of poetry and stanzas.
Yeah, they rhyme.
They rhyme, and they're coming back around. So I appreciated that, and I appreciated that there wasn't any discredit of that time period, where it was included in that episode where Mando got to say wizard, when Anakin was able to say wizard.
Yeah.
And then we also got him going through the caverns of Tatooine. And when it comes to the sound design, when it comes to the visual effects of the pod racing scene, it was just a great callback of how they put that in that episode, just to give a wink and a nod to the people who love the prequels.
See,
so I enjoyed that a lot.
I'm not disagreeing with any of that, but this is the last thing I'm gonna say on why the prequels were terrible. Okay, everything that Hannibal said rings absolutely true. Being someone who read the novelizations, okay, the prequels sucked based on direction. It was a very decent story, depicted poorly, very poorly.
I have seen an argument somewhere, can't remember who, somebody was like, there's nothing particularly wrong except that George shouldn't have directed them. And I can't remember. I can't remember who made the argument, but they laid out like two directors, and they were like, he's friends with Steven Spielberg, like he's right there. But I know he laid out. I think he laid out 2 or 3 different people that could have directed it. But so I guess I see where you're at with that argument. I guess because
I remember specifically the novelization.
I own the pod racing video game. I used to play that all the time.
It was
like
fun
on Dreamcast. Shouts out to y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I remember. Yeah.
I was gonna say real quick. I mean, because I get these arguments and I appreciate them, but I believe they're also filtered through the much more snarky modern era. Return of the Jedi is truthfully not that well directed a movie, and honestly, to keep it 1,000, A New Hope without Marshall Lucas would have never worked. Never worked.
In truth,
what I want to say about that is really that for me, the prequels had an enormous value beyond anything else. It showed me that Palpatine was right, and all those people deserved to die because the Old Republic was in every possible way. It was every bit of inequity that we see from Canto Bight. It was every bit of inequity we see from January 6th. It was every bit of inequity we see in every part of our universe gone drastically wrong. From Coruscant all the way to the Outer Rim. And say what you want, but there was almost no slavery on Tatooine after the Empire. Just gonna leave it there.
And in all honesty, I'm not arguing against the story. Like I said, the novelizations pointed all that stuff out a whole lot better. I think back to the novelization of Revenge of the Sith, and there were chapters. I was just gonna bring that up. Yeah, there were chapters about Palpatine's psychic manipulation of Anakin, which made his turn a lot more understandable. That did not come out on the screen. Okay,
I guess it just got cut for time. I guess.
No, it was just they didn't know. Lucas is not a good enough director to show psychic stuff. It's like the reason that Dune is so impossible to film, because most of it happens in freaking thought bubbles, and it takes a special kind of director to show that on screen. Now, I'm not looking at the prequels from the snarky, I hate stuff just to hate it. I'm way too old for that. I'm talking from a filmmaker's point of view. Okay, when it comes to cinematography, actor direction, sound design, script editing, it was not done well. And I agree. A New Hope is a C+ film at best. Return of the Jedi is a C- film at best. Empire would not be Empire without Ivan Kershner. Would not have been Empire without Ivan Kershner. Okay, when Lucas let go of the reins and gave it to his teacher, who took elements from Italian filmmaking, French filmmaking, and the golden age at that time of filmmaking being the 1920s and the 1940s, we got a masterpiece that stands the test of time. But the others, and this is coming from someone who loves the prequel, they are the reason I read Joseph Campbell. They're the reason that I study fairy tales. They're the reason, they were a sliver, but still a part of the reason that I went to college for science. But you got to call something for what it is. They are not great films. Okay, they're not academically put together very well. And the prequels were the worst ones so far. They needed a different director, a different team. Okay, now the novelizations
will we put the prequels below the sequels?
Yes.
No.
Yes, I would.
Because I think
I would for one reason and one reason alone.
Okay.
If you turn the sound off on the sequels, it is still a more enjoyable thing to look at than the prequels were.
Hard disagree.
Have you done it?
Okay.
Have you done it? Because I have, and I'm like, wow.
I'm not a filmmaker. I'm just a storyteller.
Okay.
I don't specify myself in a specific genre. I go from comics to marketing copy to movies to television to everything else. So I'm more. I have a different perspective in that regard. So I'm not going to say, from filmmaking craft, I'm not. I always tell my wife, "You went to film school. I didn't. Go on with your little filmmaking stuff. That's cool." But from a storytelling standpoint, the sequel trilogy insults me. It offends me. It makes me upset.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Viscerally angry. When I first saw The Force Awakens, I was in a theater and I was at what we used to call Baldwin Hills Theater, and I literally yelled at the screen "No" as the credits roll. I literally yelled, and people looked at me like, "Damn!" I was upset. I'm still upset about it.
Well, the funny thing is,
why?
Because all right, the prequels at least had the prequels had a plan. You know what I'm saying? The prequels had an actual plan. J.J. Abrams even came out after we already done said it on YouTube and Twitter a million times. He was like,
we didn't know what we were doing.
You got me. We didn't know what we was doing. And at least, you know, there's at least 5 to 6 fan ideas that would have played out better than the three. Now, as far as technology, the way it looked, the new movies, there was cool stuff and all kinds of fights and everything. Great. But as far as a plan, y'all just did whatever y'all wanted.
Exactly that. And as far as a story, that's my concern with the sequel, because the sequel trilogy is not a story. The sequel trilogy is an attempt. It's not even a full outline. So looking at that is offensive to me from my root, from my core. Okay. And especially because when I got done, because I've watched all the movies multiple times. When I get done, even watching the Phantom Menace, I'm like, you know what? We're going somewhere. This is a plan that had a beginning, middle, and end. It connects to everything else. It's going somewhere, and I can appreciate that. That's because it's not, you know, the Phantom Menace, oh, I'm a franchise by myself. It's episode 1. It has a job. It does that job, and it nails it. Episode 7 runs into a tree and never recovers. Never, ever recovers.
It's weird because J.J. Abrams, he brought back Mission Impossible. J.J. Abrams brought back Star Trek.
But J.J. he also did Star Trek Into Darkness, which is another insulting film, which insults my intelligence and is offensive to me as a storyteller.
Look, there is no arguing against the fact that the prequels had a better story structure than the sequels, okay? I'm not having that conversation. The conversation I'm having is from a standpoint of what is on screen, what are we looking at, and how engaging is what we are looking at on the screen. And as I said, if you turn the sound off, if you watch the prequels on mute and the sequels on mute, from an objective point of view, forget how you feel about it, just how does it look, what is happening, and what is going on there.
Okay.
The sequels are superior to the prequels.
Okay, I'll give you this.
If I don't pay attention
the prequels
to the story,
the prequels has a problem.
Why am I watching it?
Huh?
I'll give you this. The prequels
because there's more than one medium to see things through.
But I'm saying I'm a story dude. The reason why I consume entertainment is story, not for craft, not for special effects, not for any. I watch for story. I'm specific about that, and I'm a single issue voter, and I never single issue back down from it.
Yeah.
So if I do so, if I watch the sequel trilogy on mute, Finn is still going to get on my last nerves as a space janitor. If I watch the sequels on mute, I'm still going to be mad, furiously mad that they were like, oh no, we'll save Carrie until the last movie. That's fair. You know, I'm still gonna, because I'm not getting the meat that I'm looking for.
But I'm
not getting the meat on the bone.
You're fighting for a point of view that's already been conceded. I'm not talking about story.
The point of view you're giving, I can't go that way. I can't. Where you're going, I cannot follow.
Is it that? All right, let me ask this: is it that the prequels have a? Because when you're saying if you have them both on mute, the prequels, they do have a problem with like pulling off like a political drama, or you know, because there's a lot of political stuff, and it's kind of just like,
made for kids.
For
like,
me personally,
even though like we've seen political dramas that have been like crazy suspenseful and stuff, and you're like, yo, there's a great political drama here, and you're not giving it to me. You're not.
I gotta say that I was the demographic. I feel like I needed all of it. I needed to see that the Jedis were a full organization. I needed to see that. because when we get into the OT trilogy or the OT, we see that there's only 2 Jedis per movie, right?
Yeah.
And then there's also so to hear that there was a whole organization galactic wide, we get to see that in the prequels. We saw old Obi-Wan originally. Oh snap! Didn't know he could be young. He's a young man.
Didn't know he could be young.
We're talking Obi-Wan
and then
Kenobi,
also,
not James Von Sydow.
No, and then we also saw, for me, that in the OT that there was this tyranny, right? There was this tyranny. There was this oppression that we knew that's why the rebels were fighting. So when we had the prequel the prequels, it was that they were really bringing out that there was democracy at a point in time, and there's machinations going on in between politicians, like in the real world. And I feel like George Lucas was conveying his disdain with that, and how the perfect line was, "This is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause." And people just go for that. And I just really felt like the prequels were establishing what the world was to where it was going. So I needed it. And Qui-Gon, rest in peace.
Yeah, and
Shouts to Qui-Gon, man.
In
Always
truth,
love you.
I would recommend reading the novelizations of the movies, and you guys will see what I'm talking about.
I agree.
But this is also why Rogue One is my favorite of the not a Ridge Tridge, specifically because it shows the Empire's tyranny. You know, it shows it in a much more understandable and honestly frightful way. And this that was the biggest thing I loved about Rogue One. You know, when the Empire shows up on that planet to talk to Hannibal Lecter, Kaisil, you know, Mads Mikkelsen, saying, "Yeah, you are one of the best engineers, and you are going to work for us. This is not a request." And him looking back at his family like, "If I say no, I'm dead. No, put the gun down. We can't beat them in a fight." And then the original Star Wars trilogy never really showed us why the Empire was so bad, because we were so rebel focused. But it was a different time where people didn't ask those questions that hard because of the difference in media that there was between 77 and 2014. You know, I mean, that's I'm willing to say the fairness on that.
I just want to add a footnote. Wanted to add a footnote in regards to the novels. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Mace Windu and Anakin's fight is way more pronounced in that book than what we got in the movies.
Yes.
Oh, really?
It was amazing to read.
Oh, yeah.
And I was taken back that we didn't see it in the movie. I was like, because I read the book first. So I'm like, the book is amazing. The movie's going to be just the same. The only thing that correlates the same from the book and the movie was the opening. Other than that, like with starting with the battle on Coruscant and the death of the old dude, Dooku. Yeah, with Dooku. That's the only part of the book, and the rest of the book.
I can't call Christopher Lee Dookie. I'm sorry. I go hard-o. I have to go hard-o.
And those it has the same plot points, but the execution from the book is totally different. And one thing, the conversation between Obi-Wan and Yoda, and Mace Windu, and they're on the cruiser. That happens in Obi-Wan's apartment. And before they come over, he's hanging out, or he's in his apartment and he's making tea, and they show up to his house. And this is in the book. And when I read that, I was like, oh my goodness, they have home lives.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't even know what.
Yeah, like seriously. I originally read that stuff because after seeing Phantom Menace, I'm like, oh man, De La Soul is dead. And one of my gaming mentors was all about Star Wars. Like, he is Star Wars as I am Trek and I am Doctor Who. And he's like, bruh, read the novel. I know you got the time. And I'm like, fine, I'll read the movie. And yeah, I got that. I read it and I'm like, where was this? Where was this on screen? You know what? Maybe they'll do it better in the second time. No. But the novels, the novelizations of the films was everything that we were expecting. And this is coming from someone who gives lectures on setting your expectations at a reasonable place. So that's where that is. But aren't we here to talk about this episode of Boba Fett?
So let's talk about what's her
We're
name?
talking about Star Wars.
Is it Petty? What's the mechanic's name? Petty Motto? Petty Malo?
I don't know, but I still love her.
And
right.
she's very
loves
open in her
Jawas.
dating history. She's very open in her dating history. She's open to, she's open to whoever's coming along. I appreciate that.
You know, she's taking gentlemen callers, and
She's liberated.
Very furry. They're very furry.
She's a liberated woman.
Yep.
Having this episode definitely shows how different Mandalorian is from Boba Fett. Like at first, because when they announced Boba Fett, I'm like, come on, bro. Like we just watched the Mandalorian. But then when I saw the trailer, I was like, okay, cool, different. But now seeing this episode, it's like, oh yeah, his life is so sweet. He has this weird lady that's like, yo, fine, look, you can fix stuff. And the droids, it's honestly funny seeing her wackiness up against his kind of like, he plays the straight man and she's the crazy character.
Although, did you notice something in that act, which was a very, very subtle nod of her noticing that he doesn't have the same prejudice against droids that he used to.
Yes.
I mean, that was real big. She even said like, well, I took out the car seat because given your disposition, you probably don't want an R droid.
And even when he was working with the little baby droid, the droid from
BB-8, I want one of those.
You should play Fallen Order. That's the droid from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah,
I'm talking like remote control to walk around my studio, just like I want one. Like I don't want the BB-8 toy because the top and the bottom always becomes disconnected and you lose it. But that little guy, I want that little guy to play with my cat.
I mean, it's still batteries not included, but I mean, we'll let you
want them too.
We'll let you roll, Star Wars. I'll let you roll. But you can see he was a little annoyed, but he wasn't like get them away from me kind of thing. Yeah, he's a little more, he's little tolerant. More relaxed.
He's tolerant.
Yeah.
If I may quote Insecure, you know what that is? Growth.
Yes. Yes. Definite character growth. And I think what people are having a hard time with as far as Boba Fett goes, and it was brought in stark relief in this last episode, is that Star Wars as a visual property has always been about adventure. What is the adventure? We're following the adventures of Luke, then we're following the adventures of Han, and we're following the adventures of Jendaren. We're following the adventures of what's her name from Rogue One. And Boba Fett is not very adventurous. It's very, it's what I see it doing, and help me out with this Trekkies. It's kind of trying to be a Deep Space Nine. When it was, it's trying to be Deep Space Nine in the Indiana Jones universe when you really think about it. Because
I'll allow it.
Because we see an Indiana Jones movie, we know all the indie tropes. He's gonna be running, he's gonna get beat up, he's gonna be trapped in somewhere, covered in some kind of vermin. That sounds a lot like the Mandalorian. Man, and then we get to Boba Fett, and it's like, there's a bar with a bartender that knows everything. Can you trust it? Hey, look, there are dealers over here. I'm just waiting for the tailor that knows everything and you're not supposed to trust. And looking at it through that lens, I'm like, okay.
That's the mod guy.
Yeah. So looking at this, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm getting Deep Space Nine when I was expecting another Next Generation, but Deep Space Nine is my favorite Star Trek show. So, all right, I'm getting in here. Let me see if I can get Cisco Fett. I'm waiting for Cisco Fett.
He's working to it.
And that's what I've been saying from episode 1. He's working towards Cisco Fett. We even got the Maquis coming in the form of what's the gang whose name I can't remember?
The Pikes.
Yeah, the Pikes. We got the Pikes coming in. We got the First Order rising, because in the time period, this is like the building of the First Order. So we've got the Dominion on the horizon. And I'm going, all right. So we've got all those pieces. And
at this point, the Empire isn't super gone.
Right.
They're
There's
kind of
Imperial remnants.
Yeah. If there's enough to build on, and nobody knows that Palpatine is way on the other side of the galaxy in a test tube, and Thrawn is still out there somewhere, So we've got all those pieces, but then they give us Indiana Jones and the movie that the Crystal Skull should have been in the middle of Deep Space Nine. And I thought that was a bad call. I really thought it was a bad call. Because again, I'm now hyped for the next adventure show. And I'm not as hyped as another iteration of Casablanca in space.
I guess. I mean,
speaking of, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I've been hungry as a Star Wars fan for so long that I'm eating good. And oh wait, so you're telling me I got to stop eating this steak to have this Cornish hen? Okay, but there's some more steak coming. I'll get back to that. Thank you. I'm eating good. I'm not mad at nobody.
Yeah, I get that.
Star Wars is doing a thing right now. Like now, I'm honestly cool with the shows if they're gonna rock like this. Maybe do another Vision series sometime next year, something like that. Give us a couple more. Like, I wouldn't even be mad at another animated series that, really, really comes through.
Honestly,
similar to the way Clone Wars did.
Not Resistance.
Oh, no, not Resistance.
No.
More closer to, and I know this is on Netflix, but more closer to maybe like Arcane in how serious it is. I know we can't get all that blood, but something that level, maybe like a touch above Clone Wars. Even though, don't sleep, that final season when Ahsoka was like, you can't pass me, so I know you can't pass him. Like, that was baller. But she was like, you can't. When Ahsoka took that dude with no weapon, I was done. I was like, you are the master. She started glowing at that moment, man. She started, I am the master. It's a fortune cookie without a fortune. It's in you.
Yeah. Honestly, what I honestly think needs to happen with Star Wars, and I think this is what all the shows are adding up to, is we need to see something. I honestly think it should be an animated show because it's easier to make animated shows look good, follow the story, do a lot of visual storytelling for not nearly as much money as live action. So I think it's easier to do.
Yeah, explosions are a lot easier in animation.
Yeah. is to really show what Luke is doing with the failed Jedi Academy and the rise of the First Order. I think that's something that's really needed.
My heart can't take that. I can't watch Luke fail in slow motion. I can't watch it. I can't.
It's there. It's canon. We saw the fallout, and we were talking about the Ridge Tridge for a good part of this podcast. Let's be real. Luke ended what we would consider, pretty awesome, but he was not the best Jedi.
Oh no!
And and then we find out that he was a horrible teacher. And hold
on. He may have been a great teacher. Like, think of all of us. We probably have a favorite teacher. There might be a couple of slackers that came through their classroom, and it's not like totally their fault.
The only student that we know about, we know about was Ben.
I think we're looking at Luke as a teacher when what we really need to be concerned with is how he was as a principal. Like Ava on Abbott Elementary. The problem wasn't so much that he couldn't teach. The problem was that he couldn't run a school.
Hold on.
Different skill set.
I'm not going to put him on her level though. All right, because
So
Shorty's not doing nothing at all.
He's got more bodies than Ava got. I'm gonna say.
Mm-hmm. So
we don't know the in between right now between the transition time between the sequels and the OT. But I will say we do see the fallout, and we do see the influence. We see the influence of Snoke on Ben in the comics of the Rise of Kylo Ren. We see that's the only glimpse of what we really have so far. Of that transition period and maybe Resistance, but that's not for the masses. Not a lot of people watch that. So
nor should
that period of time, it does need to be highlighted more and brought out. For me, with this whole what was that?
No, go ahead, RJ.
No, I was gonna just say that with this episode, for me, what I personally needed to tie in the whole episode or the series as moving forward, I just needed that one opening to know where he at, what he's doing, the dark saber. That would have been a good enough tease for me to see. Okay, that's what we're getting in season 3, in season 3 of the show. This really felt like a pilot episode, or not a pilot, but the opening to season 3. That's what.
Kind of like a backdoor pilot or something like that.
A backdoor premiere. Because, like I said at the beginning of this episode, I am hyped to see the next episode of Mando. I want to know what's going on with the Mandalorian. There's a lot of loose ends, but with the content that's coming out, like, again, I was the demographic for the Tridge, and I loved Luke at the end of Return of the Jedi, in truth, way back in the day, like, one of the reasons I'm not all big on this other stuff is because everything I read that was canon, other than the novelizations of the prequels, were made not canon. So I lost all the legend stuff, and I lost Shadows of the Empire. And seeing that in between time, looking at Luke's training, looking at some of the failed attempts, and how that reflected. It was, I've always had a problem with B+ student comes back as ace teacher. But then when we get the sequels, he's angry old man drinking blue juice. And we get a 5-minute flashback of when he messed up. And I'm like, hold up. The Luke that was at the end of Return of the Jedi had more control over his feelings than that. A little bit more than that. He was always hot-headed. I get that. If he wasn't hot-headed, then Vader wouldn't have thrown Emperor Palpatine down the hole to nowhere. But the fact of the matter is, the juxtaposition between End of Jedi Luke and what was the second one of the sequels called?
Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi.
Yeah, the juxtaposition between End of Luke and Last Jedi, it was like, whoa, what happened, old man? And why does your hand look all messed up?
Geeky Andre says, I believe Luke Skywalker was a good Jedi and teacher before Ben came along. In the comics and other novels, they portray Luke as surpassing Yoda. The sequel trilogy didn't give us that, unfortunately. Now, I don't know, because the only comic book I've been really into, because it's just straight boss level, is Vader. I'm gonna be honest. Like, Vader got that heat. Like, it's true. But I will say it could help to see a little of this play out, because we go from someone who seems hopeful, at least from what I've seen in like bits and pieces of people talking about it, and even here and RJ kind of conferring it, like, hey, like, it seemed like he was hopeful and he was doing good and he was taking on some students and kind of like building to like a brighter day. And then like next thing we know,
he turned into Harrison Ford.
And then he just throws the lightsaber away.
I would like to take another slant, because here's the thing. What we now know with the benefit of retrospect is that the sequel trilogy was not a trilogy. It was 3 rolls of the dice. that had nothing to do with each
Well,
other.
true.
It was a
yeah.
D20, a D12, and a D2, and it could have gone any way, possible combination of ways. So what I would be happier doing, rather than seeing, oh, let me build up Luke failing in slow motion and giving up, ruining everything, every bit of goodwill that was built through the original trilogy, I would like to just, after the day after Rise of the Skywalker, she's put the lightsabers in the ground on Tatooine. What's next for the galaxy? What's next? Let's go forward. Let's move forward. Are we going to deal with inequality on Canto Bight? Is there a threat from the Chiss in the unknown regions? Moreover, there's things like the Living of Gazian, which came up in a recent Star Wars comic, that is so deep in the Force and gives so much information. You can do so much exposition and so much canon without, actually having to do a whole 10-episode, 7-episode series or something. You can just say, oh, yeah, they stopped by and we got their whole story in the Living of Gazian, because it's a wonderful exposition tool we just developed that I now love. Let's do that instead, because personally, I've seen enough people failing in my real life. I've seen enough America failing in slow motion in my real life that I don't need to see Luke Skywalker fail in slow motion again. I don't need that. It's more than my soul can handle right now, honestly. Let's look at it in 20 years. Let's look at it in 20 years.
Now, also, since we're saying things that like Disney, I know you're watching. Kathleen Kennedy, I know you're watching. John Favreau, I know you got alert.
All of them they're subscribers. Yeah,
I get it. I know you got to get your lurk on. I understand.
By the way, John, love the cooking show. Have Rami on more often. All right, let's do it.
More black people besides Mace Windu can have the Force on screen. I'm talking about on screen.
Yes,
on screen. It makes a difference when it's on screen. All right, and I do too.
And not in comic books, not in novels, not the tertiary stuff that you need to get a degree. You gave us a black Wookiee, and that can be a little insulting if you don't give us any other good black characters.
Yeah,
okay?
It's like black people can, and they don't have to be tied to Mace Windu. If they are, cool, but it doesn't have to be like there's only one black family like, it's like either Mace Windu or Lando. I feel like y'all played with me with The Last Jedi when you showed the kids talking about the Jedi, and it seemed like you swerved me. It almost seems like you knew what I was going to think when I saw that scene. I was like, yo, that kid got the gift, son. You got the juice now, kid. And they were like, psych, it's a kid that's sweeping. And I'm like,
yeah, catch up with Trek, man. Catch up with Trek.
They rolled a 12 on that D12 for Last Jedi, but then they rolled a 1 on the D2 for Rise of Skywalker.
Whoa. Rise of Skywalker. Oh man. So yeah. That's why I say, black people can have the Force. It's okay. And then
it surrounds us and binds us. It doesn't not go in certain neighborhoods. You know what we're saying? Be like, I am the Force. I am bringing the universe together. Oh, red line. Okay, yeah, my bad. I got it.
All right, so RJ, final thoughts, and where can they find you?
All right, so my final thoughts was technically, visually, in the sense of storytelling, a beautiful, amazing episode. For me, it derailed away from my objective of watching Boba Fett. It made me anticipate for Mando Din Djarin's story as it moves forward. This is what I wanted to bring out, the attention to detail in the Citadel. So it's not it's a circle. I'm just calling it the Citadel. I don't know what it's really called, but it was a circle. But you can see that it had panels, and on those panels, it was reflecting the sun, and they had night and day for the different neighborhoods throughout there. And I was like, yo, that is amazing aspect of paying attention to make this living, city in space. It was dope. I just needed just a hint of Din Djarin, and then I would like to move forward to build up to that conclusion before we get to this crescendo of what's gonna happen in his battle. Oh, also, Boba Fett is building the 96 Bulls right now. He's got a squad.
Yo.
He did just get Scottie
Yeah.
Pippen. He really did just get Scottie Pippen.
He has Mando, he has Fennec Shan, he has himself. It's just looking like they're about to dunk on everybody. It's crazy right now.
It's not gonna be pretty.
His Pippen. Fennec is definitely his Pippen. But all in all,
Black K is Rodman.
You know what?
yeah,
I would say he's putting together the '93 Lakers. Okay, I'm
awesome.
saying he's putting together Showtime because he's got the Magic, he's got Worthy, he's got Divac. He's even got AC Green and Fennec because she shows up to every game. She shows up to every game and she puts in the work.
She's MVP. So right now, the build up was cool. It just that second half of the N1. For me, I love the nostalgia about the N1. And even seeing his mechanical skills and his time bonding with the droids, it shows that he had some growth in that department. But even when we had the former half of the episode, he's more vicious without Grogu by his side, and and he got excommunicated out his whole religion. That's crazy. And that was his creed. That was the way for him. So now he has to go back and find something else for his season to become a well-rounded character. And all in all, the episode was good to move the story along, but it moved the story along further for Mando and not Boba. And that's where I'll leave it. And if I was to give it a grade fully, I give it a 7.7. That's an official Nerdy Brew grade. And you can find me at the Nerdy Brew. I YouTube at the Nerdy Brew, where we talk TV, movies, and everything in between. Or at my Instagram at RJ Nerdy Brew 315.
Word up. Hannibal Taboo.
I gotta say, first of all, that the segue that RJ just did there from his commentary into his plug for himself, chef's kiss, beautiful.
Yeah,
I love it. Amazing.
That was
really beautiful.
See you right there.
Second, I feel very differently for it. I don't feel any separation between Mandalorian, between Boba Fett, between Acolyte, between Ahsoka, between any. These are all, every new piece of Star Wars I get is a new piece of Star Wars, because I don't look at it from the weekly episodic lens. I look at it from the larger continuity lens. And every time I plop in another Lego into the piece, I'm like, okay, great. I get another picture of that. That's cool. Okay, word. Let's do that. So for me, this didn't derail me from anything. This gave me everything that I was looking for in this episode as an escalation from the previous to hopefully escalate even further in the next one. I didn't know how much I needed to hear Amy Sedaris speaking Jawa, but I really did. That really was something I needed in my life, which really enriched me as a whole. I do think that Rodian is hyped from Resistance. Good luck with him out in that booty corner of the universe, wherever he is. And what about being excommunicated from the Death Watch, and now they just call it the Watch for marketing reasons, maybe. They may have kicked him out of the faith, but they didn't kick the faith out of him. And that's why I don't expect anytime soon to see Din Djarin walking around without a helmet willy-nilly, because he is still a zealot, a believer in the truest state. So he will remain true to the faith, even when the faith doesn't remain true to him, especially because he's now carrying around the Darksaber. He is not going to be repping his set in the wrong way with people looking at him and giving him that much scrutiny. So that's fantastic. I'm very excited to see him connect with Grogu. Well, actually, honestly, somebody tweeted that it'd be funny if he connected with Grogu off screen and just showed up like, oh yeah, I checked in on him, he's fine.
Lucas is not directing this.
Which would be hilarious to me, which I love. Yeah. So he'll be like, oh shoot, he left his toy in the backseat. Oh, well, I'll take it to me later. That would be fantastic to me. I am going to miss him bringing him in cold the traditional way, because I believe it pays a little bit better to bring in a whole dude than just their head. Just saying. But as muscle running a ship that fast and getting it all shined up now, I'm feeling that. I'm definitely feeling that. I'm feeling the return of color in both the introduction of the N1 and the Mod Squad. The return of color, which is a Republic affectation, and we're seeing more of that come back now. I'm trepidatious walking towards the First Order, as I find literally everything from those films, even the one that I love, Last Jedi, is a failure in lots of ways. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to dropping more Legos in place and seeing how the puzzle actually all wears itself out. And how my puzzle works out is, I'm going to try to segue, is I'm @ HANNIBALTABU. You can find me on Bleeding Cool with reviews, iHeartRadio's podcast Nerdorama with Mo and Tawala with reviews, and Sunday nights on KQBH LP 101.5 FM in Los Angeles. Mix shows Sunday nights at 11. It's available, and you'll also find it on Mixcloud on the It's Complicated Twitter at 11 o'clock tonight. Thank you for having me.
All right. Last but not least, Solar Gray.
Man, y'all are hard acts to follow. I will say that. So what I thought about this episode is, I feel like a teacher in a classroom, and I got one student over here that's like a B+ student, and I'm like, I know you can do better than this, and I know you're just waiting till the test. I know you're not doing your homework, but you're waiting till the test, and then the star pupil comes in. And I'm trying not to go, why can't you be like him? You know, I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best. This episode is honestly one of the best episodes of The Mandalorian that has come out. Looking at this episode in Boba Fett, again, I'm looking at it like, all right, you called in your friend to help you with this next test. I'm not going to say impress me, but I am going to say live up to your potential. Okay. I'm trepidatious going into the next episode because, like I said earlier, that next episode had better be plasma. I ain't talking about fire because I have been reminded of something that I enjoy more and something that doesn't feel nearly as much like work. You know, on RJ's tip, if I was to give it a grade, this would definitely be a solid 3 of like, well, this episode is literally a full house where the series as a whole has been 3 of a kind. And honestly, I will know what's happening next week. Next week's episode will let me know whether I love this show or I'm deflated and I will go watch something else. Okay, that is where I'm at. So I'm like, all right, this is that part of the 80s movie where the group goes to the big contest. Like this is the audition from Breaking 1. You know, that's seriously where I'm sitting right now. God, I'm old.
Yo, Breaking 1 is a classic, but Breaking 2, I mean, they stopped the bulldozers, man.
Yeah.
With dance.
But so yeah, and if you guys want to hear why I think the way that I think about certain things, you can come see me at twitch.tv/BID_P to learn a little bit about me, my nerdy background, and of course we talk about all things nerd except video games because I can't afford them, from tabletop role-playing games to comic books to 3D printing to tabletop miniatures games, to board games to cosplay to puppet making. And you can hit us up there 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. For on Sunday, I am here and I keep it holy. Oh, look at that. I didn't even know that somebody was there. Thank you very much, man. But yeah, so yeah, with that, I gotta say, you know, seeing this show through the lens of DS9, I'm not going to write this off as a Ferengi episode because those were fillers. Okay.
Whoa.
This episode was very good for what it was. I am just trepidatious about where it fits into the rest of the show. So these next 2 episodes had better justify reminding me of a show that I enjoyed more. That's what I got to say.
Okay. Well, I'll say that before going into, I'll go in and let everyone know this was an amazing movie. I loved it. I enjoyed it a whole lot. Straight up 10 out of 10. It makes me miss Grogu.
Merchandising. Where the real money from the movie is made.
Lil Grogu, we miss you, man.
Yeah.
We miss you.
Can I pop in right there?
I know you out there. I
Yeah,
know you out there getting your learn on.
Can I pop in right there? This is the exact reason I know he's not going to see Grogu off screen because right now you are holding money, and Disney is not in the habit of leaving money off screen.
Grogu, we thank you. We miss you. We can't wait to see you. But from the opening sequence to the training to the challenge. And we knew the challenge was coming because old boy was over there. Old boy was over there heated. He was over there heated. So from the opening to the challenge to even just like limping around, everything. Yo, this movie is amazing. And they found a perfect way to bring in the prequel era through conversation and through actual product with like, oh, okay, we got this old ship. It's like, look, trust me, it's almost like Fast and Furious, the very first one, all right? When he brings in that Supra, all right? That Toyota Supra did not look great, all right? But they fixed it up.
Had it where it counts.
And that thing, I remember those. When I saw this, I was like, oh, snap. I was like, yeah, there's got to be some around. Like, I mean, if you go to a junkyard, you'll probably find my very first car, a 1989 Buick Century. You'll probably find one of them around there somewhere that still actually will turn over when you push the key. So I was like, it makes sense. And she was like, it's pre-galactic era, so you can ride dirty if you need to. Like, everything worked.
Don't need seatbelts in this one. It's grandfathered in.
Yeah. I love this episode, especially when he dipped out. Like he was like,
let me get it for you.
I'm gonna go. So everything was cool. Even seeing the end when Finnick came through, she was just like, look, need some help. She was like, I got you. You know what I'm saying? Because we hit. You know what I'm saying? Like everything worked. The droids worked. Petty Malo, I think it's Malo, whatever her name is, Peli Malo, something like that. She works, Mando works. This comes together great. We do miss Baby Grogu, but Baby Grogu, he's out there. He's got to learn. All right, he's got to learn.
Now that you're bringing this up, I think I know what this episode is. And that is a test episode to see if people will still like Mando or if they just like Grogu.
Okay.
While we're on that point, I just want to, there's something I forgot to mention. If you ever see a Mandalorian whose last name is Vizsla and he's not force sensitive, he is a sucker. And he is going to get played out like a sucker.
Look, I mean, it was a decent fight. I mean, for a second, he was manhandling. Like,
I'm not saying they can't fight because all the Vizslas can fight. They're Mandalorian. But when you ask them, hey, are you on the right side of this? They're going to be like, nope, I am not on the right side of this at all.
Nope, not at all. Nope. So with that said, NERDSoul, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all them places. Hit a homie up. Got TikTok too. Go on and follow me, whatever. See what your boy is doing from day to day. We got 3 awesome gentlemen on here. Barbershopped it up for y'all. Follow all of them. Hit like and all that stuff. We got podcasts for y'all. Spotify for music. We got some dope comics for y'all to see. From us to you, thank you for watching, and peace. All right, say peace, Grogu.
His mama named him Grogu. I'm going to call him Grogu.
You gotta call him Grogu, yo. Gotta call him Grogu. Anyway, y'all, we out.
on, let's go, finish him off. If you can't do it, then maybe you should let someone who can, like me.